Hi. So, in today's video, I'll be telling you about my photography teacher, Gomoła, and I'll be telling you more about all those references he had to the history of Tarnów and Jewish people, and yeah. So that's the next section of my book, Piglet, and that's the section entitled Gomoła. So if that's something for you, then stay tuned and off we go. Um, so the last two meetings with Gomoła were pretty much revealing to me, but when I look at it with the perspective of time, at our relation of a student and a teacher, then I actually see that over the years he had recurring references, utterances referring to places in town, that here in this place there used to be a building, or there used to be a monument. And he would often refer to Jewish buildings or Jewish things, because Tarnów used to be a Jewish town. So, when we are walking to St. Martin Hill, it was when I was discovering witchcraft at McDonald's, but actually, I was just gathering the memories. I was just, it was my very first approach with the very first notes. So everything was, scattered. It was not yet connected. The picture wasn't fuller, wasn't so complete, and I didn't have the entire picture, or the better understanding of what was it even with witchcraft. Like, they mainly rely on hypnosis. I didn't know that. I didn't know many other things back then. So I finally, asked him about Jewish people, because I believed he had, this historical knowledge, and I believed he was a reliable source, but I was wrong. And he told me during that walk, he told me about a weird practice of killing animals. He told me that Jewish people have such a weird practice, and he didn't explain, he specified to me that the way Jewish people kill animals is based on rapid, swift motion that results in a rapid loss of blood and consciousness and brings a quick death to an animal, which is pretty much what anyone would want for the meat they eat, right? So he mentioned something about cutting the throat, but he never specified to me that this is actually the more logical way, that the way we would want it, and we just never sit to think about the way we would people kill animals, because we don't want to think about it. We just want to have our chicken for dinner, and that's it. So, I didn't bother to check how do we basically kill chickens in Poland or in Holland. But when I worked in Holland, there was a man I lived with, and together with 7 other people in the same house, and he told me a story about the work he did in the past in Holland, and that was the work with chickens, so hanging dead chickens on the strings, and then it happened that those chickens would wake up. So, well, is that a standard procedure in the Netherlands, that the dead meat wakes up? Because 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 when you're that chicken, then you wake up and you are covered with other dead chickens. Like, you're not killed properly. I mean, this is sick. Um, So 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 I wouldn't say that Jewish people kill animals in a weird way. And as I was curious about Jewish people, then he told me that there was a very recent publication by Agnieszka Wierzchowska, so Memories and Stones. And I have to tell you that, yes, when we die, we actually, there is a coffin made of wood, and there is this grave made of stone. So pretty much we all change into stones when we die, don't we? And when you think about the way the accidents are constructed, then it pretty much looks like, which is orchestrates accidents. So I would say that, um, the book by Agnieszka Wierzchowska, in its title Memories and Stones, is just a little bit off for me. The titles that include stones. Um, yeah, bearing in mind, for example, 600 dwarfs in the city of Wrocław. But yeah, um, so he mentioned that book, and we talked about the fact that she wrote it in Germany, in Berlin. So we talked about sources and what type of sources could she possibly use over there, because that was in Germany, and she wrote about the city of Poland, Tarnów, right? And he told me that he himself has found like 7 or 8 mistakes in the book, but nobody knows how many mistakes would a real historian actually find. Yeah. And he sent me the event from the book launch, which depicted a woman who was tall, who had black hair. And when I started to search on my own, Agnieszka Wierzchowska and her book launch, I saw a woman who was, very small and had blonde hair. So these two women were totally different women. And well, what happened here was some type of misinformation. I believe, like, he possibly wanted me to believe that, I got something wrong. I remembered badly, or a lot of my book is actually based on my memories, how I remembered things. Um, and then, you know, uh, when I mentioned at the very beginning that, he very often talked about places, in town. So he would talk about, the Prince Sanguszko, and he would talk about Szczepanik and the monument that was made for Szczepanik for his honors. But most of those things that people say he did are not the things he did. Or he talked about the brick factory of Brach or Goldman. So both of these surnames are Jewish surnames, Brach and Goldman. And finally, he told me just, something that sounded like a, this sounded like a gossip, but we talked about cemetery and the fact that the Jewish cemetery is closed with the key. And he told me about the old cemetery that not so long ago, supposedly, two Jewish women were raped and they were buried in the old cemetery. But actually, almost no one gets buried over there because there's just no space for it, and the cemetery is old. So, you know, the thing, the misinformation here was based on the fact that nobody knew. I mean, the nationality of the man who raped those women got wrong. So he wrote to Adam Bartosz about the fact that it was a different nationality of these men. And then he goes like, and do you know what he replied to me? And I'm like, no. And he goes like, that I should leave them in peace. And so we obviously got, annoyed with the fact that he didn't want to, Mr. Adam Bartosz supposedly didn't want to correct the facts. And, with yet another meeting with regard to, the conversation that was regarding Jewish people with during another meeting was about Kuba, who used to go to photography class too. So he basically told me that during the photography presentations of photos, so we call those events, when you have exposition in the art gallery, you have this, event when you invite people, let them eat and look at your photos. So during such an event, he was taking photos with the lamp, and then Kuba would yell at him so that everybody could hear what he said, like, "Don't you know how to take photos?" Just because he took out the lamp. Because, there is this common belief that photos are better with the natural light rather than this artificial light. So basically it appeared as if he wanted to show him that he was better. But that was just an invented story. And he also told me that Kuba denied that he used to go to photography class because he actually would rather come and visit, and he wouldn't take photos there, he wouldn't make a film there, he wouldn't make enlargements there, maybe just once. So, it looks like, a lot of those questions, a lot of his assurances were when walking in the town with regard, those Jewish, Jewish, buildings or things around the town, and I could never answer those questions because I back then, and still I'm learning a bit by bit, but still I don't know a lot. So back then I didn't know even more. And a lot of his questions would actually focus also on my citizenship and my bilingual citizenship and my double, two surnames, in my story, the stands behind getting the second surname, just like in the consulate. And my surname, my Polish surname too, like, he would say that there is a mountain Livos, and maybe my surname comes from that place. Or he would say that I should have done ancestry test, and he would repeat it over and over. So these were the topics that were somehow, recurring topics in our conversations, and it was something that just got back at me when I started to put the book together. I started to understand it better, like what was the reason behind it. Because in Piglet, there is a lot about me. There is a lot about systems. So me getting familiar with the system within the number of works I did as an English teacher and as a blue collar worker, and the system when it comes to various service providers, and the system when it comes to even medical services. But the system understood as those who actually built me, shaped me, and so my teachers, that's for sure too, my environment, my friends, and within Piglet, there is a lot about Jewish history. Well, at the very beginning and at the very end, but the people who happen to, come around me and be great folks and great people, they were Jewish people. Just at the time when it was happening and I was getting to know them, I didn't know they were Jewish. So yeah, a lot of the book was about also discovering my own identity and the identity of people who were surrounding me. Seriously. Yes. Um, and therefore, I think Jan's Gomoła main focus was like, the curiosity about Jewish people. Yeah. Okay. So, um, that's it for in today's video. And Piglet and Amelia are on sale, and their price is growing $1 every day. So if you want to have a better deal, you better grab the opportunity right now. And you'll find the info in the description of the film, on my website, Facebook, Instagram accounts. And if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching.